Hello YouTube and welcome to this tutorial, which is a complete guide on setting up your Ionic Framework Development Environment. So if you've seen my other videos, I have a complete setup where I have Ionic integrated with Android Studio, Visual Studio Code, Git, the Android emulator, and all sorts of other tools. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can replicate the setup that I have. So the first step is we want to install the Java JDK. So let's head to our browser. So within your browser, you want to go to your search engine and search for Java JDK. Okay, so you want to click on the first result that says Java Standard Edition downloads. Okay, then you're gonna land on the Java Standard Edition downloads page and you'll see a list of different versions for Java. The one that we are looking for is this one, Java SE 8. So you want to go here where it says JDK download. Okay, when the page loads, you want to scroll down and it's going to give you a list of different installation files depending on your operating system. This guide is for installing Java and the Ionic environment on Windows. So I'm going to select this file right here for Windows 64-bit. So I'm going to be asked if I accept the terms and conditions. I will say yes, and that's going to activate the green download button. So I'm going to click that to initiate the download. And I'm going to be asked to sign into my Oracle account. So you need to create an Oracle account if you don't have one. I already have one, so I shall just sign in. Okay, so after signing into Oracle successfully, then the download will begin. I am going to cancel the download because I already have the Java JDK downloaded. So I'm going to click on the Java JDK on my desktop. That's the downloaded file. And we're going to begin the installation. So we'll say next. That's going to start the installer. And what you want to do is you want to take note of this installation directory. It's being installed to program files Java JDK 1.8.0 underscore 221. All right, so I think I'm happy with the defaults. So we'll say next. Okay, and again, this is the Java runtime environment. So it has its own installation folder as well. So we're going to click next, and that's going to install the Java runtime environment. Okay, so the Java development kit has been successfully installed. So we want to close this and then proceed to configuring our Java JDK installation. So to do that, we want to go to the search bar and we want to search for control panel. And there it is. So we'll click on that. Let's maximize the screen. So you want to make sure that up here where it says view by, you want to make sure that category is selected. And when category is selected, you want to go to system and security. Next, you want to go to system. And right here in the left menu, you want to go to advanced system settings. Okay, and in the pop-up, the system properties pop-up, you want to click right here at the bottom where it says environment variables. And the first thing that we want to do is we want to go here under system variables to our path, and we want to edit our path. So we want to create a new entry. And in the new entry, we want to go to browse this PC. So now we want to go to the installation directory for the Java JDK. So remember, it was in C, program files, Java, Java JDK, and you want to select this bin or binary folder. So click OK. OK. And next you want to create a user variable. So let's create a new one. And this one needs to be named Java _ home, all caps. Okay, under variable value, you want to highlight it and then go to browse directory, this PC, C, program files, Java, and you want to select the Java JDK folder, the top folder, not the binary one. So click OK, OK, OK again, and OK one more time. So now in order for the changes to take effect, we need to restart our machine. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so after having restarted our machine, we want to check for our settings and make sure that they have been applied correctly. So we need to open a command prompt. So we can just go to search and type in cmd. That's going to open the command prompt app. Let's just maximize that. And you want to type in Java-version. And that returns the version of the Java JDK that we just installed, meaning that installation was successful. Next, we want to check that we have the Java home user variable set correctly. So to do that, we type in echo, and we need to put Java home inside 2 percentage signs. And that returns the directory where we installed the Java JDK. So that means that Java has been installed and configured correctly. If you like this channel and our content, please head over to our online store, codeswag.co.uk/shop, which has a shop especially for developers, where we sell cool tech like this 2 terabyte NVMe M2 SSD from Samsung. which is blazing fast. It has read and write speeds of up to 3500 megabits per second and all kinds of other awesome tech. So please head over to the store and support this channel. Now we want to install Android Studio. So let's go back to Google and search Android Studio. And we want to go to the first result from developer.android.com, where we will download Android Studio and the SDK tools. So we'll see already there's this button ready for us for downloading version 3.6 for Windows 64-bit, and it's 749 megabytes. So you can just go ahead and click that directly. You will be prompted to accept the terms and conditions, and the download button will become active. So I'm going to cancel this download because I've already downloaded Android Studio. If I go to my desktop, you can see I have Android Studio right here. So I'm going to go ahead and double click to begin the installation. So we're gonna want to run that file and say yes. So we're gonna click next to continue, next, and here's the installation directory for Android Studio, and next, and click install. And that's going to begin to install Android Studio on your machine, and it should be done pretty quickly. All right, great. Android Studio has been successfully installed on our machine. So just click next, and perhaps you just want to start it so that you can see that everything is okay. So this is basically us configuring our development environment in Android Studio. So let's click next. And we're going to be asked what type of setup we want to do for Android Studio. Let's go with custom so that we make sure we know everything that's being done. Okay, it's asking us to enter the path for the Java development kit where we want Gradle to use in building our project. If we click the drop down, we have embedded JDK or Java Home. Let's go with Java Home. It's actually the same path, but anyway. Next, we can choose a user interface theme for Android Studio. We can go with Dracula, which is the dark theme, or Light, which gives us this lighter version of Android Studio. I like dark version, so I'm going to select that. Then next. And then now we have to select the components that we want to install. These are the components that are part of the Android development environment. So we have the Android SDK selected automatically. We have the SDK platform selected automatically, and API 29, which is Android 10 or Android Q, selected already. And then we have that performance module. So if you click on them, you can see this short description about each one. And we also have a Android virtual device. I think it's good for us to have the Android virtual device clicked. That does make the download size a little bit bigger, actually a lot bigger, because it's 516 megabytes without, and when you add it on, it becomes 1.56 gigabytes. But we have lots of disk space available, so we can go ahead and install those components. So let's click next. And this is us setting up our Android emulator. You can choose the amount of RAM that you want to allocate. I have a total of 16 gigabytes of RAM, so I'm going to give my emulator a generous amount of RAM, 4096 megabytes, which is 4 gigabytes. So let's click next. And this is a summary of all the components that we are going to install. So there's everything, and let's click finish. So this is going to go ahead and start the necessary downloads and download all the pieces and install them. So I'm going to pause this video and come back when the download has been completed. Okay, so we're back and all of the components have been downloaded and installed, as you can see in the log right here, and we've created our Android virtual device. So let's click finish. And that's it. This is the welcome screen to Android Studio. So we can actually create a new Android Studio project. And let's just add something with like no activity. Okay, maybe let's do a basic activity. And then we'll be prompted to enter a name for our application. We just keep the defaults, and we can see that our projects are being put in our user folder, Android Studio projects, and the name of the project. I'll just keep everything else at the defaults and click finish. And when we do so, we have our project open in Android Studio. And you can see it automatically opens the main layout file. It's just going to load for a little bit. Okay, so we get this prompt that the OpenJDK platform library wants to connect over our network, so we'll just allow access. This is a trusted program. And after Gradle has finished doing its thing, here we are with our app in Android Studio. So that's it for setting up Android Studio. Okay, so after installing Android Studio, we need to do some configuration. So just like with Java, we set the Java in our path, we need to also set Android and Android Studio into our path. So we need to go to File Explorer. So what we need to do is we need to go to our environment variables setup page, which is under advanced options. So previously I showed you how to do that using the control panel, but I'll show you a different method where we will use this PC. So let's open Windows Explorer. So in Explorer, what we want to do is we want to hover on this PC and right click, and we want to select properties. And this takes us to a familiar page where we can go to advanced system settings. And when we select advanced system settings, we get this dialog, and we can select environment variables. So after doing that, we then have these variables available. We have the user variables and the system variables. So we want to create a new user variable, and this variable name, we're going to call it Android_home, all caps. And in Android Home, we want to click on this Browse Directory button. So we are basically telling the computer where the home folder of our Android SDK is. So it's going to be under your username. And if you scroll down a little bit, you'll find this hidden directory called app data. You may have to enable viewing hidden directories. So under app data, we go to local and Android and SDK. So just click on the SDK there and select OK. So that is going to put the path, which is C users, our username, app data, local, Android, SDK. So let's click OK, and you see Android Home has been added there. And next we need to go to our path under system variables, and we want to edit the path. So these are the different paths that have been added to our path variable. So we want to add a new one, and we're gonna have this blank option. We actually have to type or paste in a path. So we want to open another window of Windows Explorer. And when Windows Explorer is open again, what we want to do is once again navigate to the Android SDK folder. So let's go to our username and app data. You see app data is a bit transparent. It's a bit faded out. That's because it's a hidden folder, and you want to make sure if you can't see it, you just want to go to view and make sure that you have this box hidden items ticked. If we untick it, you see app data disappears, and if we check it again, then app data reappears. So let's go to app data, local, and Android SDK, and we want to add the Android platform tools. So we then just want to copy that. So next we want to go to, we're back in the SDK folder. We want to go to build tools, and we want to just copy this path, select copy, and go back to the environment variable setup. And we want to add a new entry to our path. Click paste, and that's it. Let's click OK, and OK once again, and finally OK. Now what you may have to do is to restart your computer so that the new settings take effect. So I'm just gonna go ahead and restart my computer, so see you afterwards. So the next step is to install Node.js. Again, let's head to our browser, and we want to search for Node.js. So you can just directly go to nodejs.org, and it automatically brings us to the download page for Windows 64-bit because that's our operating system. So you have two versions here, version 12.16.1 and version 13.9.0. 13.9.0 is the latest version, but 12.16.1 is the so-called LTS, or long-term support. That means that this version is going to be very stable for a number of years. So I like stability. I'm going to choose to install the long-term support version. Clicking that will begin the installation, which I will stop because, yes, you've guessed it, I've already downloaded it ahead of time. So here I have Node.js. I'm going to click on it and run the installer. I'll accept the license agreement. Next, there's the installation directory. Next, and I'm going to install all the options here. For example, it will install the Node.js runtime, NPM package manager, very important, online documentation shortcuts, that's very useful, and Node.js will automatically add itself to the path, so we won't have to do that. So click next. I am not going to check this box open. I don't want it to install random things that I don't know. So I'm just going to click next and install. And then I'll give it permission. The installation is done fairly quickly, so I will then click finish. So next we want to check for Node on our system. So we need to go to the command prompt once again. Okay, so with the command line open, we're gonna check if Node.js and NPM are installed correctly by running the command node-v and npm-v. And both of these commands return the version numbers for Node and NPM respectively. So that's great. And finally, for the moment that we've all been waiting for, we have all the dependencies Now it's time to install Ionic. So let's clear the screen, and we're gonna install Ionic using the Node Package Manager. So we say npm install -g for globally at Ionic CLI, and we also want to install Cordova. So this is going to go ahead and fetch the necessary files and then install them on our machine. Okay, awesome. Ionic has been installed. Cordova has been installed as well. Now we just want to do a simple check to make sure that everything is all right. We'll do Ionic-V, and that will return Ionic 6.1.0, which is the Ionic CLI. And we'll also do Cordova-V. And it's going to ask you, do you want Cordova to anonymously report usage statistics to improve the tool? I don't like it when programs just send things over the internet. I'll say no. But when you get this prompt, it means that indeed Cordova has been installed. And you can see that we have this Cordova 9.0.0. So that's fine. You can say yes to this if you want. This is just a personal preference. So this is great. We have Java installed, we have Android Studio installed, we have Node, Ionic, and Cordova. So let's just clear things up. And finally, we need a code editor in which we're going to write all of our code. So back in the browser, we want to go to Google search, and we want to search for VS Code. And the first result you will get from code.visualstudio.com. Let's click on that. And we have Visual Studio Code. So it already has Windows selected for us and also the stable build. You can click down here and you can see Visual Studio Code for other operating systems, but I'm going to go with this. And this is going to start the download, which I will cancel because, yes, once again, I already have Visual Studio downloaded. Sorry, Visual Studio Code downloaded. So let's double click and run. And we're going to accept the agreement. Next, that's the download. That's the folder in which Visual Studio Code is going to be placed. Let's click next and next. And here you can choose whether you want it to have certain shortcuts. I like to have it in the Windows Explorer context menu and in the Explorer directory context menu. And also I want to register Visual Studio Code as an editor for supported file types and adding it to the path. I recommend that you click that. That means that we will be able to open Visual Studio Code in the command prompt, which I will do a lot in the tutorials that I will be recording for you. So let's click next, and it's gonna show a summary of the options that we selected and then install. So that's going to go ahead and install Visual Studio Code on our machine, and Visual Studio Code is done. I'm going to leave this checked to launch Visual Studio Code. Finish. And there we have it. Visual Studio Code is installed on the machine. However, it's not absolutely necessary that you install Visual Studio Code. You can use any code editor that you want. You can Sublime Text is a good code editor. There's also people like Vim a lot, Atom, and a whole lot more. There's Notepad++. You can even use plain Notepad if you'd like. But I like using Visual Studio Code. I think it has a lot of very useful tools, and it looks very nice. I really like the dark interface, and I just love it. We want to install Git. So let's head to our browser. And we want to type in the web address git-scm.com. Okay, so we want to click here on download 2.26, on download version 2.26 for Windows. And that's going to start the download for Git on Windows. I'm going to cancel because I already have the file downloaded. So after downloading Git, I'm going to initialize the installer. And click next. The default installation directory is fine. And here I want to make sure that git bash here and git GUI here are checked off. And the default start menu folder name is fine. On this screen, you're going to be asked which default editor you would like Git to use. I like using Git with Visual Studio Code, so I'm going to select Visual Studio Code as the default editor. And then next. And I like going with the recommended setting, Git from the command line and also as third-party software. We're going to use the OpenSSL library. And we want to check out Windows style and commit Unix style so that we make sure that everything is set up to be compatible with cross-platform development environments. And I'm going to use Minty. And I want to make sure that enable file system caching is checked off, as well as Git credential manager. Okay, so now the installation is going to go ahead. All right, that's awesome. I am not gonna view the release notes. Let's launch git bash. And that's it. So git bash gives us a bash environment inside of our Windows machine. So we can use bash utilities like ls, cd, etc. And I make use of this in some of my tutorials. So before I end this video, I just want to let you know about my Ionic course, which is called Ionic Framework Tips, Tricks, and Techniques by Pact Publishing. It covers a range of different topics from user interfaces, performance, custom plugins, and much more. As you know, this channel is fairly new at the time of recording, and I really do appreciate all the people who are subscribing and supporting. As a special thank you to these supporters, I'm giving away free copies of this course, Ionic Framework Tips, Tricks, and Techniques. So today I'm giving a free copy to Abdiel Navarro. His support and encouragement has really stood out, and it's very much appreciated. Thank you, Abdiel. So please make sure that you like, subscribe, and share this content, and I will be seeing you in the next video. All right, so thank you very much for watching this tutorial on setting up your Ionic development environment on Windows 10. I will be producing a lot of content for Ionic tutorials, so you can check them out. But make sure to like this video, click the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you're notified when new tutorials are uploaded. Thank you very much and have a nice day.